You guys have your cell phones on, right?
I think I started the stream.
As long as it's not pointing at me, I'm okay.
No, it's not. It's fine.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see the red. It's on here.
Yes.
Let me seal it for now.
The meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. by me, Mrs. Adams. Let the record reflect that those present are Mrs. Gunter, Mr. Stroud, Mr. Hanger, Mr. Engel, Mrs. Adams, Dr. Richards, and Dr. Hanger. It is recommended that the agenda for the March 11th, 2021 regular meeting be approved as presented with additions. We do have a late item and we have one correction or deletions as recommended by the board. May I have a motion to accept the agenda? Motion is made by Mr. Hanger, or excuse me, Mr. Engel. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Hanger.
Madam President, we have, it's going to be 4 late items. We have the resignation of Teresa Bannett that is on your late item sheet. We have a recommendation of the board to approve the renovation of the North Harrison tennis courts. And that's going to be with tennis technology, and the price is $144,684. That's $144,684 for you seniors taking notes. I don't see you taking notes. $144,684. There is a quiz. All right, and then recommended the board approve the amendment to January 14 minutes to include the approval of the resolution to transfer amounts from Education Fund to Operations Fund. At that time, that motion was made by Mr. Hanger and seconded by Mr. Keaston, and that will be in late items. And the one that's not on your sheet is recommendation for approval of the Key 5 coaching clinic to be hosted on August 20th and 21st, and all of our folks get to participate for free at a very expensive clinic. And then I believe, Ms. Gunner, there was a correction on the minutes for February. Oh, that's in the next one. Sorry. Hold on, that's in the next one. I'm sorry, that was in the next section. All right.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against? Motion passes 5-0. It is recommended that the minutes of the February 18th, 2021 executive session and regular meeting March 3rd, 2021 special executive session and March 4th, 2021 special executive and meeting be approved as presented with a correction.
Yes, on item 10, the motion was seconded by Mr. Eric Stroud, not past member Greg Oldham.
May I have a motion to accept the approval of minutes? Motion is made by Mrs. Gunter. Do I have a second? seconded by Mr. Stroud. There are no comments. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Under Business Office recommendation, approval of claims, it's recommended that claim numbers 137 through 228 be approved as presented.
May I have a motion to accept this recommendation? Motion is made by Mr. Hanger. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Stroud. Are there any comments or questions on the claims? Therefore, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Approval of payrolls, it's recommended that regular payrolls for March 19 and April 2nd, 2021 be approved for payment.
May I have a motion to accept this recommendation? Motion is made by Mr. Engel. May I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. There are no questions or comments. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Bank reconciliation, it's recommended the bank reconciliation from February 28, 2020 be approved as presented.
May I have a motion to accept the bank reconciliation? Motion is made by Mr. Stroud. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Hanger. Any questions or comments? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
And we do have a presentation by Ms. Jones. I think it might be better for you board members if you want to peel out and join the audience. That way you can see.
Good evening on this rainy evening. I was asked to give an update on our SEL programming and our state assessments, and I'll explain a little bit about each of those as we get through the presentation. SEL stands for Social Emotional Learning, and it was an initiative started by the state really a couple of years ago, but it's kind of been slowly coming on burners for schools. SEL is part of the MTS framework that the state has, which is multi-tiered systems of support for students to help them learn. And that includes not only social emotional learning, but behavior interventions and the RTI's response to instruction, which is the academic portion. There are 7 competencies, which I will show you in a bit. And really it is a tiered intervention, just like all of the state's interventions are at this point, with there being a tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 1 is a classroom intervention, and that is where teachers do some training, some skill building, and then also provide some interventions for students who may be having issues emotionally, socially, really academically or anything. What we've done this year to kind of start the process is to send resources to teachers, giving them just information, building vocabulary on what those competencies are. The state has put out an SEL bibliotherapy, which was always one of my very favorite ways to teach in emotional situations by using good children's literature, that you can provide connections to kids, connections for kids, and help them learn. And the state has put out a pretty extensive list all the way from K to 12, a lot of good literature on that list. We also, I've put out some resources to teachers to help them with SEL for their virtual students. And when we had the unrest in the country at several times over several situations, we put out some civic crisis resources as well. very happy to say that during our March and April PD sessions, Dr. Adam Sines will be presenting to us. He is from Texas. I had the privilege first of hearing him last year at a Whole Child Summit with all of our other school counselors, and he is excellent. He is going to be talking in March about the power of a teacher, and then in April, he's going to be talking about adult stress and some management techniques for that, and just some empathy building for what students go through as well. We do have a plan in place to continue working with him through the 21-22 school year to include professional development for all teachers, and also to adopt his Heart Smart curriculum. That is pending funding, and we're working on that. We also have 4 teachers, one from each of our buildings, who are participating in the Department of Education's SEL pilot. They have been learning the basics of SEL for their first micro-credential, and then their second micro-credential will be on equity. When you get to Tier 2 intervention, that's really the school counselor. So in other words, the classroom teacher's really done all he or she can do. The school counselor then takes over at that point with certain situations. The last 2 years, all school counselors and I have gone to the Whole Child Summit, participated virtually this year, but it was still excellent. We also have a corporation committee that is co-led by me and our counselors, and we've done a needs assessment with our teachers who are on that committee and staff. We have a mix of both certified and non-certified folk from all buildings. And these were their 4 main points. They feel like we need system-wide skill building for staff and students that is aligned and consistent, meaning that whatever we're teaching in kindergarten, we're teaching a similar skill to our seniors. They also feel like we need designated instructional time for skills instruction and some adult student mentoring. They feel like we need support and collaboration and or mentoring time for the adults, for staff. And they feel like we need a sustainment plan for the long term. We are actually already working on all 4 of those points. The I see an error, excuse me, that should say Tier 3 intervention. That involves intensive outside resources, so that would be outside referrals to mental health agencies. It may be school-based therapy, which we do have at Morgan, North Harrison Elementary, and North Harrison Middle School. And I have worked on a couple of grants this year to try to acquire that for North Harrison High School. Haven't been successful yet, but we're still working. So what are the benefits of social emotional learning? I won't read all of that to you, but you can see that there is not only a financial return in addition to the emotional return that you have for kids, but there are also then some life skills that come from that help students not only in social situations in schools and outside of school, but as they move into career and or college. These are the 7 competencies: sensory integration, that mind-body connection, understanding why your body is shaking or understand why you feel like your head is going to blow off, understanding those emotions. Insight, just aware of all the different kinds of emotions and a sense of self and how that manifests itself in you. Regulation is that impulse control. When I was a school counselor, I used to talk to kids about reacting versus responding. If you react, then you are acting on impulse. If you're responding, you're taking a minute to stop and think, and then make a good decision about how to handle a situation. It's about collaboration. Is the 4th competency with conflict resolution and how to make decisions by using kind of a pro-con approach. Or an if-then approach sometimes. If I do this, then what happens? If I do that, then what happens? The 5th competency is connection, and that is perspective taking and empathy development. In other words, realizing that not everyone's experience is the same as yours, and that sometimes you have to look at things through a different lens. because your experience is different. Critical thinking, which is critical analysis, judgment, and problem solving. And then mindset, persistence and resilience. Just because you fail the first time doesn't mean that you can't try again, and again, and again, and again if you have to, and learn a little bit every time. So these are basic life skills that all employers are asking that we help develop in students so that they are ready for the world of work and higher education. So our next steps. I will be having a follow-up meeting with our Corporation SEL committee. We will continue to support our SEL pilot group. They are about halfway through at this point, and we're not sure. It's really up to the state what happens after that. There are 15 micro-credentials that have been developed. They will have 2 by the time they finish. So we'll see where the state goes with that. We will continue, and this is basically me doing this. I've spent a lot of time in SEL forums and looking at social, emotional, and behavioral wellness through the state. And I'm continuing to pursue funding for those training initiatives and resources. Just this week, one of the things I participated in was called the Journey of 2 Districts as they moved into SEL. And this is the wisdom of their experience. It has to be a priority, and that's a priority from top down. There has to be a program that is used across the board, or at least has a lot of alignment across the board. It has to be an integrated process. It can't be one more thing for everybody to take on. It has to be something that's integrated into academics and to academic standards. Training obviously is needed, mentoring continually. You also have to look at adult skills and really build those skills in your adults first so that they understand what it is that we need to do for students. Support continually from not only colleagues but from trainers and other resources, and it has to be aligned K-12. And then if you'll notice the word that's different there at the top is time. One of the presenters said that if you go slow, you go far. And that's what I've heard consistently, even 2 years ago when Evansville Vanderburg was kind of ahead of everybody. They had taken 2 years to get to the point where they were, and they were probably about 3/4 as far as we are now. Or we are about 3/4 as far as they were, at that point. So it's a building process. It's not something that happens overnight by any means. Questions on SEL before we move to state assessments? Okay. iLearn, iStep, WIDA, and iRead3 will all move forward according to the state. State and federal education departments have indicated that those summative assessments will be conducted with all students, including those participating virtually. Indiana has submitted a waiver request regarding accountability for schools, meaning that we take the test and we use it to see what children need in the classroom, what we need to do in terms of education, in terms of planning to help them move forward, but really not for anything else. iStep, WIDA, and iRead3 have been completed successfully. At North Harrison, we're finishing up iRead3 this week. WIDA is the assessment given to students who come into our country speaking a different language. And of course, you know iStep, this is the last year for that. To be taken across the board, we still have a couple of years of retest yet to go. Then that high school completion assessment will move to the SAT. Our iLearn assessment window will start April 19th and run through May 14th for grades 3 to 8. Questions about those assessments? Favorite part of school for you all, right? Yeah. A couple of years ago, Indiana enacted dyslexia legislation that said that all children in grades K through 2 had to be assessed, specifically screened for dyslexia. Last year, we were able to screen all of our K to 2 kiddos. We found 28 total to be at risk. And then COVID hit, and that was kind of the end of that. I felt at that point I was behind, that I hadn't gotten as far as I needed to, but in participating in a lot of forums, also for dyslexia, I found out we were pretty much, if not where everybody else was, ahead of a lot of them. There were a lot of folks who didn't even get that far last year, so felt a little better about that. 2021, we've completed all screenings for K to 2. We did that in the fall. At that point, there were 43 found to be at risk, so a significant difference. And I believe COVID and our difficulties getting instruction to children certainly played a role in that, and most other people feel that way as well. That's true across the state. From what I'm understanding, numbers are up. Level 1 screenings are complete at this point, which is the next step. It goes from universal to level 1 to level 2. At risk, we now have 12 left from the initial screening. 17 have improved and no longer are at risk. The remaining 14 have moved to level 2, which means they have been referred to the school psychologist through an RTI, or response to instruction process, and are being tested for special services. Those 12, I will go back and we will start an RTI process on them, looking at some classroom samples and some other things to try to weed out those kids who really just maybe don't test well, but as far as their performance on a daily basis, let's see what it is. So that's where we are with them. Our intervention training, one of the state recommended approaches to intervention is Orton-Gillingham, which is an old approach, originated back in, I want to say 1932, but don't hold me to that date. It was somewhere along there. It has years of research of being very systematic and very successful with kids who have difficulty picking up reading skills. Potentially by the end of April, we will have all of our North Harrison Elementary K to 2 teachers trained. We had several of them trained last summer. When I talk to them, they are very excited and feel like it is making a difference for kids in reading. We had just today, I was able to get 2 of our Morgan kindergarten teachers to be trained by the end of May, hopefully. South Harrison had 2 extra slots for a training that they had scheduled, and they offered them to us, so we have 2 of our Morgan K teachers on the way to signing up for that. And then in summer 2021, there are more sessions to be announced, and I hope to finish out our Morgan teachers at that point with those sessions, but I don't have dates for those yet. I talked a little bit already about the monthly forum participation and lessons learned there. IDOE also put out a Dyslexia Toolkit in February. I've shared that with teachers, but it was 27 very packed pages, so I don't expect they've really absorbed all of that yet, but they do have that as a resource as well. Okay, any questions about testing or dyslexia or anything that I can help you with?
I do want to say that Ms. Jones has picked up several of, you can see these are a wide range of topics. And she's taken those on this year, and we've tried, she's done a terrific job of, to say that we were a little overwhelmed with COVID, would be put a little lightly, but we've tried not to further overwhelm our teachers and students with the additional information. But social emotional learning is a very important topic as we move forward. We began discussions about that a year and a month ago. And so we've taken a lot of steps to bring in outside resources and work on providing more channels and avenues for families and students. The dyslexia is something that almost involves a full-time person, just trying to keep up with all of that, screenings and those things. And it's very important, but with everything involving additional people, plus the testing that they're not letting us out of, I know one of the questions is going to be about our virtual kids. We've asked them to kind of come in and test if those that are willing and able, and we'll just go forward from there. We're not going to, please don't put this in the paper. We're not going to force people to come in and take ISTEP or ILM, but we've sent notes and communicated those and tried to make arrangements for those folks to come back in. Now, having said that, a lot of our virtual kids have returned, and many of them are willing to kind of come in and take a crack at iLearn and ISTEP, so we really appreciate our parents' flexibility in that. But I can't say enough about the good work that Ms. Jones has done for us this year. I will also share one little poignant moment since we're in this time. This is one of the things that Mrs. Sigmatista was very passionate about. And so we had a presentation in January with Mrs. Reynolds, and then this month, Mrs. Jones was actually supposed to be here at our February meeting, but with everything, we postponed it. And these were two of the areas that Ms. Batista had a lot of interest in and concerns about. So I only wish she could have been here for it.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there something in place where you're going to get feedback from the parents?
The question was feedback from parents regarding the dyslexia.
Some of these other parts of these interventions to see if the parents see a difference.
As far as dyslexia, before we can do the level 1 screenings, we have to notify parents that, hey, your child popped up as at risk on the universal. So those parents have all been notified, and we are now in the process of sharing the results and talking about next steps with them.
Okay, so this is early. This is early, but you're doing
Early.
It's early, right? Okay.
Early.
Yes. And then as far as SEL, when we do the needs assessment with our certified and non-certified staff, once we kind of get them up to speed a bit more, so they aren't blindly wondering what we're doing, then we will be asking, doing a needs assessment for students, and we'll do a survey, needs assessment type for parents as well.
But for those kids that for our neediest of children, though, inside of that, we've already got reference points for Blue River and outside counseling, outside research.
Now, if anybody has any public comments on the agenda items that are listed, you can step forth, state your name, come up to the podium and ask your question or make a comment. No comments, then we will move on to personnel.
Resignations and retirements. May McQueen, resignation high school cafeteria, effective February 22, 2021. Aspen Luther, high school resignation high school instructional assistant, effective February 19, 2021. Tina Blocker, resignation elementary instructional assistant, February 24, 2021. Kimberly McKee, resignation elementary cafeteria, effective March 25th, 2021. March 5th, 2021.
Are there any questions or comments on this? May I have a motion to accept these recommendations on resignations?
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Mrs. Gunter. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Seconded by Mr. Engel. All those in favor, please say aye. Against? Motion passes 5-0.
Under appointments, John Miller, North Harrison High School JV baseball coach, effective March 11, 2021. Chad Clooney, North Harrison Middle School boys track coach, effective February 24, 2021. And Alan Reed, North Harrison Middle School golf coach, effective February 24, 2021.
And may I have a motion to accept these appointments? Motion is made by Mr. Stroud. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Hanger. Any questions or comments on this? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Madam President, I don't believe we have any other items. I'll make some comments under superintendent comments for discussion and informational items at that time. Under late items, Teresa Bennett, resignation custodian, effective March 5th, 2021.
May I have a motion to accept this late item? Motion is made by Mr. Hanger. May I have a second?
I'll second
Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. Any questions or comments? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
It's recommended the board approve the renovation of the North Harrison Community Schools tennis courts with tennis technology, and the base price is $144,684.
May I have a motion to accept this recommendation on the tennis courts?
it. Go ahead.
Motion's made by Mr. Engel. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Gunter. Any questions or comments?
By selecting them now, one of the reason it's a late item so we can get on their calendar, it's our plan that they'll start the first week of June. It is a 6-week process because they'll take the complete top off of it, mill it down, reestablish the base, and then each coating actually has to sit for a couple of weeks, each layer of the asphalt to cure before they can do the surface coatings. And just on a side note to that, the courts were 4 of the courts were first put in the early 70s. In the 90s, I believe they added 2 courts, and that's the last time they were seriously reworked. We redid the surface coat and did a Band-Aid process on the larger cracks for those of you that have been out there. That fabric, and it worked pretty well for 4 or 5 years. We did it about 8 years ago. But the life of a tennis court is roughly 20 years, 18 to 22 years plus or minus. And our surface coat should last about 8. So we'll be coming back to this for those that are still here, probably another 8 years to recoat it. But this should be a good surface for us for the next 20 years.
Well, that's a good thing. I remember when my children played, they tried to hit the cracks in the court so that the other kids couldn't hit the ball back. And
They are significant.
Yes. Are there any other questions or comments? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
It's recommended the board approve an amendment to the January 14, 2021 minutes to include the approval of the resolution to transfer amounts from the education fund to the operation fund. This motion was made at that time by Mr. Steve Hanger and seconded by Mrs. Veronica Batista.
May I have a motion to accept this amendment? Motion is made by Mr. Hanger. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Stroud. Are there any questions or comments on this? Then all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Recommended for approval of the Key 5 coaching to host, recommending approval of the Key 5 coaching clinic to be hosted on August 20th and 21st with the notation that our folks get to participate for free.
May I have a motion to approve the K-5 coaching clinic? Motion's made by, is it Mr. Stroud? May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Engel. Are there any questions or comments on this? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And we now have board member communications starting at the end with Mrs. Gunter. Fine.
I would just like to publicly take this opportunity to thank the board for their vote of confidence in nominating me and allowing me the opportunity to serve with them. And I look forward to the challenges ahead for the next 2 years. I truly believe, like I told Caitlin, when she asked me about comments in the paper, that, this pandemic, we've got a lot of changes and challenges ahead of us for education. So I look forward to helping our school get through that. So thank you all for that.
Just a few things tonight. Number one, I'm pretty excited about the Key 5 coaching. I'm glad Mr. Berger brought that to us. I think it's a great thing for the community and the school. Also, I want to thank Mrs. Jones for coming in her presentation. And last but not least, the tennis courts. This is probably way overdue for those. So pretty excited to get that project started as well.
Well, I too want to express my thanks to Mrs. Jones for being with us tonight, because what she does is great, and we're glad that she's still with us. And times are now when we really need to work on such things as she does. So she's a bit of an unsung hero, but I know what you're doing, Mrs. Jones, and thank you for that. Also, again, I want to congratulate Mrs. Gunner for deciding to be with us for the school board, and I know it's going to be a great ride, but she has come on to us quick, and she'll give, I'm sure, her best shot. So congratulations to her once again. And again, for you guys being here tonight, I'm so glad you could show up. And this is a typical board meeting, and you're certainly welcome to come back. After all, we work for you guys. Yeah.
I'm good,
Come on back.
Steve, I'm good. Ms. Jones, thank you. I can't add anything to what they've already said. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. To Ms. Reed's government class, thank you all for being here tonight. I'm not signing anything. Just not going to happen. I'm just joking. Tennis courts. You know, we've been talking about this for months, and it's been a long time since we've done anything. It's been a long time since they've looked good, and I think I'm very excited about that. It's just a project, something positive to move forward on that we're doing during the pandemic. Very, very important. Ms. Reed, thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, I too want to welcome Mrs. Gunter. Appreciate you wanting to do this. Also, think, you know, all the things that have been going on recently, I think we've kind of neglected a couple of things. We've got some Mid-Southern Conference championships with the swimming, and that was a great accomplishment. The boys basketball are Mid-Southern Conference champions, and I do want to mention the sectional game last Friday night was the best high school ball game I have seen in a long time. It was an enjoy, even though we didn't win, we kind of won because the boys played so hard. Well, I know, but they played so hard, and it would have been so easy to go the other way. But on the other hand, thanks to everybody for being here, and be careful going home because I think it's going to be pretty wet out there.
I too would also like to echo and thank Ms. Jones for her time. You know, she was an all-star, doing a baseball analogy here. She was an all-star infielder for us, playing shortstop and maybe a little second base for us, and now she's become our utility infielder where we just plug her in and she helps us out any way she can, and that's deeply appreciated. She goes a long way. There's a lot that has to happen in the background of a school to make a school be successful. You just don't show up and turn the lights on and walk in the door. And Ms. Jones is one of those folks that makes a lot of things happen in the background. You know how a duck on top of the water looks super calm, going along, but you look underwater and the legs are doing all these? That's Ms. Jones. She is out there taking care of things for us all the time.
Thank you. I understood the duck. I didn't get the baseball.
I would like to make a comment. 1 year ago, we had a board meeting and we had a regular board meeting. And shortly thereafter, we had our first cases of COVID in the area. And we can all remember that there was a case of COVID at Walmart, and basically the entire Harrison County shut down over the case at Walmart. I couldn't be more proud of our staff, of our students. We've done a remarkable job this year with this. I mean, if you'd have thought we'd be here today, tonight, collectively, where we are now, I would have thought you were crazy. I'll be honest with you. My over-under was Labor Day weekend. We were hoping to get the Chromebooks back, get you reintroduced to your teachers, and we thought we might be back out the door. That was some of our initial planning. We just didn't know what we didn't know. And we know so much more now. Tonight, as of right now, we have 0 COVID cases that we're monitoring. That just happened today. Our last student came in on quarantine that had been a positive student. Now, we've got some kids on quarantine due to family exposures, but those kids aren't positive for COVID. I'm so proud of our school community and stepping up. I'm a little crazy when I hear, how do we get our kids back in school on national media and then out of Louisville and things. I'm like, good Lord of mercy, just look across the river. No, you can't put this in the paper. They'll be calling me, what do you mean we can't go to school? But our teachers have stepped up. Ms. Reed is one of those that has been so helpful in this process. So I just can't say enough good things about our kids, our staff that are going forward. Now, I don't want to jinx anything with the 0, but that's good Lord, that is really progress based on everything we've seen. A good chunk of our staff has gotten their first vaccine. Dr. Hatton and I both received our single shot J&J. We're both feeling a little under the weather today, but we're going to rebound tomorrow. So again, I'm just deeply appreciative of the school community, proud of our progress, and proud of the fact that you guys could be here with us tonight. I just think that's great progress. I'd like to close with a note of thanks from the Batista family to our Board of Trustees and Administration. I shared this with the board earlier, but I felt like it was important to share it here in this open forum. To the NHCS Board of Trustees and Administration, it was an honor for our mom to be elected to serve her beloved school and community on this NHCS board. We will forever be proud of her accomplishments and so thankful for the relationships she formed working with each of you. Thank you, the family of Veronica C. On that note, I'll close.
It is recommended that the meeting be adjourned at 7:42 p.m. May I have a motion of adjournment? Motion is made by Mr. Hanger. May I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Stroud. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Motion passes 5-0.
All right,